let's explore real-life stories of youth civic engagement. We'll see how participating in community service and embracing the concept of intersectionality can profoundly influence life goals, including pursuing higher education and build empathy for those on society's margins. Let's talk about their inspiring tales and understand the tangible effects of youth activism. At the Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable, we will dive into the real-life experiences of LGBTQ+ youth and how their civic engagement shapes their journey toward college and professional careers. We'll also explore how engaging with marginalized communities builds empathy and strengthens intersectional connections. Let's start with the story of Alex, a high school senior who identifies as non-binary. Alex volunteered at a local LGBTQ+ youth center, which not only provided a safe space, but also offered various community service opportunities. Through this experience, Alex gained invaluable leadership skills and a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by LGBTQ+ youth from different backgrounds. This journey played a significant role in Alex's college application, where they highlighted their activism and community involvement, ultimately leading to a scholarship at a prestigious university. Next, we have Jordan, a transgender youth who spearheaded a campaign to include gender-neutral bathrooms in their high school. This initiative not only made the school more inclusive, but also sparked Jordan's interest in political science. Their advocacy work was recognized by a local politician, who later became a mentor, guiding Jordan toward a career in public policy. And finally, we have Sam, who organized a series of workshops focusing on the intersectionality of race, gender, and sexuality. Sam's initiative brought together students from diverse backgrounds, fostering a culture of empathy and understanding within the school community. This experience influenced Sam's decision to pursue a degree in social work, aiming to continue making a difference in marginalized communities. So panelists, how do you think these experiences shape the future paths of LGBTQ+ youth? And what role can civic engagement play in developing their professional aspirations?
So I can speak only to my personal experience, right? So I first sort of had a desire to become involved in politics, as a result of volunteering at the Pride Center on the marketing advisory team. The Pride Center became very important to me because I found out I was positive there, and it was a safe space where I felt okay being positive and still loved. And then when I got involved and then started to do stuff, get the message out about their services to other people, it's just a light went off about what's possible, like what you can do when you get involved. And I think had I not volunteered for that marketing advisory team, I wouldn't be an elected official today. It sort of created that, it showed me what was possible. And so I think finding ways to get our youth involved is critical.
Yeah, and I feel like for organizations, and that's awesome that the Pride Center was that for you. Many times, especially when I was in high school, I would shy away from volunteering because I felt like volunteering was just me doing grunt work.
Oh wow!
And for a lot of organizations, that's what they expect you to do, the grunt work. And there's nothing meaningful about grunt work. Yes, it's needed. Okay, I'll do it for my hours, but what I want to see now, and particularly with Safe Schools, what we're doing is like we're not just having them do grunt work. We're trying to empower them. We're trying to give them the space and the tools that they need to excel and to bring their vision to reality. And I feel like high school is such a weird time for a lot of us. I mean, we're like this. We're not adults yet. We're not really children. We're figuring ourselves out. Our bodies are just like going haywire, and it could be a very dangerous space, particularly for LGBTQ+ youth. And creating these safe spaces and just allowing them to find themselves and find each other, and really empowering the GSAs and having those GSAs be conduits for more engagement in the community, for more engagement in all of the organizations that are here today, and really in politics with you and as a city commissioner, Wilton Manors. That's so important because they need to see that they need to see themselves reflected in the work that we're doing and in the spaces that we exist.
Yeah, so what you mentioned about, volunteering, like not being fun, is something that we struggle with actually at the university. So through the Butler Center for Service and Leadership, we plan 5 to 6 annual days of service for campus, along with all the other student organizations that are doing their own volunteer service on the weekends and doing their own initiatives. Sometimes we struggle getting students to want to participate, even though, you know, we've had an event called Fun Day where we had 700 special citizens and students on campus coming to volunteer. But sometimes we do struggle with numbers, and I think it's how do we make volunteering fun? And another thing I think too is what's convenient versus what's intentional. So you mentioned high school can be such a stressful time, right? And you have to do these community service hour requirements, and sometimes it's easy to go to what's convenient. But I would challenge students to think, what do I want to give my time to? What do I want to give back? It's easy to go to PetSmart and like dog sit for 4 hours. That's what I did. Like, I'll be completely honest, and do beautification projects. But is that what you care about? Is that what you're passionate about? Is that how you want to spend your time and give your time? And something else that I'll say is sometimes we forget that doing work with your heart for free for the betterment of others is volunteering. So many things fall under volunteering. Right. And I think it's finding what your strengths are and how you can contribute. Making a flyer for an organization is volunteering. Yep. Making a zine about an issue in your community and distributing it is volunteering. Like, being a mentor, after school tutoring, there are so many ways to volunteer. And so really just getting to know yourself, what you like to do with your time, and who would you like to give your time to.
Yeah.
So,
So I think an important aspect of, you know, making volunteering fun, especially for young people, is giving them some agency in it, right? So at SunServe, we've helped youth organize beach cleanup days where we'll take all the kids to the beach and just pick up some trash, or clothing drives or things like that, and giving youth sort of their own voice and elevating that youth voice option so that people can do things that are meaningful to them and helping support them in that.
I wanted to just jump right in because I was a GSA President of the Year for Safe Schools. So for Hialeah, we never saw it as a grunt work. Actually, we saw it as fighting back because it's a city of progress, right? So sorry, I'm using my hands. But no, I'm very happy y'all shared that story. It's not grunt work at all. We never saw it as that. I'm actually proud to say that I had over 1,000 community service hours in high school. When I submitted my application for Safe Schools, I only put 300 because I couldn't count. So it was a tradition. That's how we spearhead things. It's making it into a tradition, making it into a culture, not making it into a grunt work. Beach cleanups are great. It's something I didn't take part in because I didn't understand what that meant as a kid. So what we did is we did a lot of campaigns. I made a safe zone training, which was anti-bullying prevention. Doing that really spearhead a lot of movement is because people always wanted to talk about it. People wanted to be a part of it. And it was just, I guess that's the biggest piece, organic. Yeah. Organic, having those root conversations to change hearts and minds, and
community building.
In these last 2 years, spearheading after COVID-19, what really helped me as an organizer is really just talking to them as adults. Talking to them as adults and asking, what do you want out of this? Exactly what you're saying, Gabby. What do you want out of this? Where do you want to be in your trajectory? Do you want to do political science? A lot of people actually don't talk about social work anymore, which is very strange now. Social work it still is the front line of everything. Yes. So when I talk to students, I always like, you sure you want to do social work? It's like, no, I want to do public administration. I'm like, are you sure? Because in political science, I got my degree in sociology from FIU. What I got from FIU is the social work program, essentially, within my program. I had an A in social work, and I was like, yay. I think that's a big part of the conversation. I mean, we need to bring back social work more into our lives.
You know, I often get asked by members of the community, both young and old, where can I volunteer my time? And it used to be one of the most stressful questions because
everywhere.
Yeah, right. But like what would stress me out is I'd be afraid to send them someplace and have them do grunt work, right? Because I could see how that could maybe for some people discourage them. And then I sort of realized it goes back to that passion, because when somebody shows up, even if there's grunt work there, they take that in one of two ways. They either let that experience drive them to go do their own thing and create something big themselves separate from that, or they change the narrative, sort of like you just did. And grunt work becomes like their passion, and they can't do enough of it. I think when you are motivated to do stuff, I think you'll find a way. And sometimes just getting thrown into that grunt work job is the opening of something much bigger.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think it's also how the people who recruit volunteers treat their volunteers.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
a big part of it.
And to instill passion, to instill gratitude, to make them feel part of the team
Yeah.
rather than, you go over there and
Exactly.
organize the pencils.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it usually
Yeah.
is. I've seen it a lot in Florida. By just doing that, people don't feel that they're appreciated. Everyone wants to feel appreciated, right, at the table. So I like to actually use that acronym, like, you want a seat in the table, let's treat you as such, do everything in the action. As an organizer, I usually have young people just do the whole thing, set it up with me. I'm teaching you at the same time without you knowing. And they appreciate that a lot, too.
Yeah, and I love what you said about having them just show up and show us their passion, because that's how I got involved with the church when I was like 15, was because I just went to them and it's like, I see you struggling with PowerPoint and I see you struggling with graphics and with media. I know how to, I've been editing, anime music videos in my own time with my friends. And so I knew how to edit, I knew how to put things together, I knew how to use Photoshop. And I was like, I can just do this for you. And that got me started. And they were like, sure, because of course they wanted like help. But that got me started in my church path. And I've been working with a church or in the church world since I was 15 because of that. And it was just me like being kind of like tired of what I was seeing in the screens. And I'm like, guys, like you can do better. Can I just help? Like. And
it was fun for you, I'm sure.
Yes. And I got a lot of my jobs was because I just showed up and said, hey, I can do this. And originally, in one of the churches, I thought I was on a volunteer, but they were like, no, we need to pay you because you're doing it. And I love that they did that because they saw the value of it. And then that actually saved me financially during that time because I had just gotten kicked out of my I was working for my father and he fired me because I came out. One day he shows up at the office and he's like, are you still gay? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, well, you don't have a job here anymore. I'm like, okay. And I just walked out. And I was racking up credit card debt. And I went, and this when I was like 21. And I went to a church and I was like, hey, I can do this. And then they were like, no, we'll pay you. So that's an organization recognizing value and bringing people into the fold and treating them like they're supposed to be treated.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's not like a broken record, but it's also about passion. You're passionate about graphics and these sort of things and the church. So you found yourself in those places where those things would come to you, right? You sort of attracted that to you by being really passionate about it. And I think that's awesome. And so it's sort of just drive, we all have to follow our pursuits and it will, the right opportunities to get involved will often magically unfold in front of us.
Absolutely.
There's also a great story about how volunteering can bring you to be a part of a community.
Right.
How that can put you as a member of that community, bring you closer to it and get supported by it in turn.
Yeah.
So.
In fact, I'm here in Safe Schools today because of that too.
Yeah.
Because I when I started at that church, the Safe Schools had started from a member from that church. And I heard about Safe Schools and I was like, I love Safe Schools. I want to be more a part of it. So I was a youth speaker for Safe Schools in the beginning. And then I just started doing the media and now I'm the CEO for the organization. So there was like this organic, natural progression with how I engage with Safe Schools and how I learn about it, all of the things that I do today.
Pursuing my passions and volunteering is how I'm here right now talking with all of you. Working at the Butler Center for Service and Leadership, we fall under student life and student affairs, planning programs for students. Another office that does that is the LGBTQ Center. And so, what I mentioned, the IBIS program that I do mentoring through is through the LGBTQ Center, but then also just getting involved, going to their Meeting of the Minds quarterly meeting is how I met Harold and how I'm here today. So volunteering, getting connected, community building takes you places that you want to be. You meet really cool people like y'all.
I hadn't really thought about it until you mentioned it, but that same sort of volunteer gig that sort of got me passionate about politics was where I got my first 3 clients for my business that grew. So it's funny because we don't, you're not going there for that purpose.
Never.
But when you're in that space, it's amazing the good things that kind of come of it. I don't know how we communicate that to young people that it's going to change more than just your volunteer life. It's going to change your whole life.
I got something to add to that. So that's actually how I got involved and how I became the GSA President of the Year with Safe Schools. We had a civic engagement program that I ran for 4 years. I think it actually stopped because of Ron DeSantis, which is really nuts to say that out loud. So for a lot of us and how we began, at least in Hialeah, it was just very natural and organic. What I like to say this year is that we're all united in power and we need to be united in power.
Absolutely.
And it is just really funny now thinking about everyone's own personal stories. When I first came to South Florida, I knew I wanted to work in the nonprofit sector and I knew I wanted to work with LGBTQ people. So when I found SunServe, I took whatever job they had available. I was part-time doing outreach 20 hours a week, and that was all I was doing at SunServe when I first started. And I stayed there for 6 years until
Good
I
on you.
grew within the Youth and Family Services Department, and I haven't regretted it.
No.
That's awesome.
But I'm curious, I'm considering this for queer youth who aren't out, but obviously have a passion for the queer community.
Yeah.
How can we help them and support them in becoming involved?
I could answer that. So when I did the GSA back then, like around 2013 through 2015, I said a mentor till 2019. I think the biggest thing is that we don't have to put pressure on your identity at all. I actually didn't know anyone was gay or trans. I find out years later, 1/3 of them are trans. I had over 200 members at my GSA in my high school. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for all queer students and trans students is that you don't have to feel obligated to come out. Never. That is your own story. And I never, when I did my GSA meetings, all we talked about was being Black and brown and Asian and just history and how we do movement work. And we talked about state schools with Anita Bryant, what happened to that, and Pride Lines. And we use a lot of examples of SunServe too. We use a lot of real life examples that didn't detract from us, that we added onto it. I think that's a big thing when we are coming out, we feel that we're detracting in this current day because of the attacks that we see on ourselves. So I want to really say that really for queer trans people that they don't have to feel that they have to come out, just express themselves how they want.
One of the things that I've learned in that situation is when I ask them how I can support them, whatever that looks like for them, as far as their process, I find, at least in my experience, that's helped them be able to be authentic about their needs and who they are. And that sort of has often naturally, rolled into them coming out because they felt like it was safe to do that.
Right.
So rather than sort of, you're right, like we don't need to tell people they need to identify as anything or come out as anything. Just ask how we support them. And it's funny what happens after that.
I think the best thing that you can do as a member of the LGBTQ community, as an adult, the best thing you can do if you're in spaces with a lot of young people, if you're comfortable being out and proud for closeted, even if you're among closeted students, be out and proud and just be yourself. Be the best professional and the best positive representation of a queer person that you can be. And I find, and I've had experiences where students that were in the closet have come out to me privately in my office, and they've told me that they felt comfortable doing that because I'm proud in who I am, and I have my lesbian pride flag in my office proudly displayed, and I have my rainbow pride flags everywhere. And so just being a positive professional, just being you, is like the greatest thing that you can do for students.
Absolutely. I think this is a great stopping point for us in this segment. So thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts